Hi, I'm Scott at ediblemusic.com. If you didn't already know, I send out a home music studio tip every week to help you with your recording, your mixing, and your mastering. It's a quick tip that's usually very practical that you can implement into your home studio work right away. If you want to join, you can get it at ediblemusic.com/quick tip. These are a few over the past year or so that I think will be really useful for you to know about. The first couple are about widening sounds and getting a wider mix. If you have, say, for example, an acoustic guitar, electric guitar, or some pads, these first two will be really useful. Now let's say if you have an acoustic guitar, you could add a chorus to it and pan it all the way to one side. So we've got our acoustic guitar track that's sending to this chorus, and the chorus is all the way to the right, and then we'll turn that down. And I recommend setting it to the right, and I'll have some scientific explanation for that as well another time. But you can hear that it just adds a little bit of extra content and helps to push the guitar out without being super destructive. It just adds some more frequencies, and the chorus modulates the frequencies just a little bit to make them different from the other side. Nice. So that's the first one. The second one that I want to show you is using some delay. You could also pan the acoustic guitar all the way to one side. And then you can have a very short delay of just 1 to 2 milliseconds or so. So the guitar is on the right. I'm using a utility just to swap to the other channel. Pretty good, right? So it's almost as if you had recorded your guitar just with one mic. This will model if you had it instead recorded with two. So it will have the same guitar take. The original guitar will be moved over to one side, and the delay signal, just a tiny little delay, will be moved all the way over to the other side. And then you can balance that out a bit. And it'll give you a bit of a wider sound. Pretty good. The third tip I want to give you is a little bit broader. I want to help you, especially if you're getting started using EQ and working with the frequency spectrum. I want to remind you that the highs and lows of a particular program element are not aligned with the lowest frequencies and the highest frequencies on the frequency spectrum, which usually the lowest will be 0 or 20 or so, and then the highest will be 20,000. But often, the program element that you're working on will only be working within a smaller focused area on that frequency spectrum. So if you were to want to boost the low end, and you were to boost all the way down at 20 hertz or so for a vocal that is contained mostly at around 200 or 300 hertz, then you're not actually working with the vocal yet. Same if you're trying to boost up a bass guitar, but you're boosting all the way up at 20K. Well, the bass guitar frequencies don't reach that high. So think about the frequency spectrum merely as a display, and then the program elements will be located It's sort of on there like a map. And then you want to work within where those program elements are. This is something that I bring up because when I was first starting How to Mix, it just didn't click for me. I thought, oh, if I want to boost up the low end of an instrument, then I would boost up the lowest frequencies possible. Or if I wanted to cut out the high end of an instrument, then I would cut the highest frequencies possible. But instead, you want to just focus on where that program element is in particular. Now I want to give you 2 bits of advice for mastering. The first is when you're limiting, set your maximum volume level to no more than -0.3 or -0.2. I usually set it all the way down to 0.8 sometimes. The reason for this is because when your song, the finished master, is being compressed into an MP3 file, or if it's compressed for streaming, or an M4A file, there can be some noise that's added to it, and if your mastered song is already bumping up at that 0 dB limit, then it will end up adding noise that will cause it to move over that 0 limit. So you want to play it a little bit safe and just keep it tucked down just underneath so that you don't end up having those distortions that can come when the song goes over that 0 dB limit. And fifth, I want you to think about what the process of limiting is actually doing for your masters. It's bringing everything up, so things like sibilance and consonance in the vocals, the reverb effects that you have, those will all be coming up much louder. So if it starts to sound as you're mastering that your song becomes muddy, whereas during the mix it wasn't, then consider just taking care of those things in the mix. Maybe reduce the amount of reverb that you have level-wise, and take care of sibilance and different kinds of things that can distract from the listening experience before you start mastering, because then you'll have a much smoother flowing song that the limiter and the processing in your mastering can handle much better. If you want more tips like this every week, go to ediblemusic.com/quicktip. See you there.